Hello, and welcome to a brief lesson on the language of music, musical terms to know for keyboard instruments, piano, organ, or electronic keyboard. So you notice on page 1, we have kinds of notes. There are 4 notes across that line of music. The first one is a quarter note. It gets 1 count. A half note, 2 counts, 1, 2. A dotted half note, looks like a half note with a dot on the right side of it, 3 counts, 1, 2, 3. And a whole note, 4 counts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notes are symbols of sounds. The kind of note tells us how long the sound lasts, that is, how many counts or beats the note gets. Musicians refer to counts or beats, means the same thing when talking about the time value a note has. The next symbol is a treble clef. When we start learning to play a keyboard instrument, that treble clef sign tells us to play the notes with the right hand. And below that there's a bass clef, that little symbol with the 2 dots to the right of it. Bass clef tells us to play the notes with the left hand. A line of music is divided into measures by vertical lines called bar lines. So you'll notice that the line below has 4 measures. And you'll see those vertical lines called bar lines. And they're dividing the line of music into a space, an area. Each one is called a measure. A time signature. At the beginning of every song, when you're reading music, there will be a time signature. It consists of 2 numbers to the right of the treble clef, one on top of the other. The top number tells us how many counts or beats there are in each measure, and the bottom number tells us the kind of note that gets 1 count. A 4 on the bottom means that a quarter note gets 1 count. The next 2 sheets give some note reading suggestions. Of course, there's 2 ways to play music. One is by reading notes, reading the music, and the other one is by playing by ear, going by the sound. And that's a good way to practice too. Train your ear to listen to music so you can try a little bit out of playing by music. And some people do that kind of naturally quite well. We'll talk more about that later. So note reading suggestions on page 1. At the top there you see 4 notes. Those are, each one is a middle C. Middle C is a note that's written on a little line below the staff. Now the staff is defined there below. That consists of those 5 lines, counting up from the bottom line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A note is a line note if the line cuts through the middle of the note. And then looking right below that, the staff has 4 spaces, counting from the bottom space. 1, 2, 3, 4. So a space note is tucked in between 2 lines. So looking at the top again, those middle C's, we have 4 middle C's. The first one is a whole note. That would get 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. The second middle C is a half note, 2 counts. 1, 2. Next middle C, quarter note, 1 count. 1. And the final middle C is a dotted half note, 3 counts. 1, 2, 3. But remember that middle C is written on a little line, its own little line right below the staff. It's the first line below the actual staff. And on your piano or electronic keyboard, it is in the middle of your keyboard, middle C. In reading notes, reading music, notes can go up, down, or stay the same. So listen for that. Is the note moving up in tone? Is it going down? Going up, for example? Going down? Or staying the same? So when we look on page 2 at the bottom 2 lines there, there's a middle C and then a D. Middle C, then we're going to move up to the next space. That's a D. So this is a step up, and that D is a space note. It's the first space below the first line of the staff. So you look for that shape going upward, note is going up. The next line, we start with the D, that space below the line, and then we're going up to the next key, that's an E. So both of those examples, the first one, C, you're stepping up to a D. That's a stepping up. And the next one, D, very next note up, E, that also is a step up. Okay, so page 2 on note reading suggestions. Here's an example of 5 notes. Notice the pattern of the note, the round head part of the note. They are moving up, starting with C, step up to D, step up one, you land on E, step up another, you land on F, step up another one, and there's G. The next line, we're starting on G and coming down. Step down, there's a F note, the space, step down, you land on a line note E, step down, land on D, the space note, step down, and there's C. You notice the little finger number there, G, 5th finger. In reading music, the thumbs are finger number 1, then 2, 3, 4. 5th finger are the little fingers. So here's a little exercise, if you can see my hands. Get used to your fingering idea. Thumbs are 1, 2nd finger, 3rd finger, tap them together, hold the others down. 4th finger, tap them together, keep the others down. 5th finger, tap them together, keep the others down. Okay. On page 3, note reading suggestions, the 3rd line, there's an example of notes are staying the same on the G note. So looking at the next line, we have 2 examples of note reading. The first one, stepping up, C, going to the very next space, so that's a step. The next example, middle C, and we are skipping the key that would be in that space. We go to the next line, we land on E, so that is a skip, skipping up. If a note moves from one key to the very next, it is a step. That was example 1. If a note moves from one key and then skips a key, it is a skip. Example 2. So this can help you concentrate on reading the notes without having to memorize just all the letters, and not having to memorize any of those shortcut sentences, because in the long run that will slow you down. Okay, let's go over to our last page then. Page 4. Notes and rests. Notes means sounds, but rests means silence. So here's a little chart. On the left are the notes, and to the right are the equivalent rests. So a quarter note, 1 count. Quarter rest, 1 count, but you don't play anything. Half note, 2 counts, 1, 2, half rest, 2 counts, 1, 2, don't play anything. The half rests in the music, you'll notice, rests on the 3rd line, on the middle line of the staff. Okay. The next line, whole note. Whole note is just kind of a round, egg-shaped note. 4 counts, 1, 2, 3, 4. The whole rest, 4 counts, but don't play anything. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on sheet music, the whole rest hangs down from the 4th line. So at the bottom of the page, there are 6 examples, a combination of notes and rests. example 1, we're on an E, and here we have 2 quarter notes, a rest, and then a quarter note. 1, 1, rest, 1. Or you could also count it, because remember we have our time signature, 4 counts in each measure. We could say 1, 2, 3, 4. And I didn't play anything on the third count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next measure, a half note followed by a half rest. So we do the math. Half note 2 counts, half rest 2 counts. We total up to 4 counts, which would be correct. We need 4 counts in each measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Third example, quarter rest, quarter note, quarter rest, quarter note. We do the math, add that up. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I could say rest 1, rest 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, rests are just as important as notes. They contribute to the melody, and to the rhythm. Very important to observe them. Okay, our final line, 4 counts in a measure. There's our whole noun. Now that is a notice on the second space, so that is an A, and I hold it for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth example in the next measure. There's just one rest in that example, and that is a whole rest. So I just don't play anything and count 1, 2, 3, 4. Final example number 6, 2 quarter rests, a quarter note, and then a quarter rest. So rest, rest, 1, rest. Or if I count 4, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you have some basic, the basics of musical terms to know, the musical language. There is a link to a Google Drive so you can print the sheets out and keep them for reference. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.